Our featured guest tonight is one of the most accomplished and respected conductors working today. But what makes him so unique is his story of perseverance in the face of incredible odds, and his sheer love for the art uh, and the craft and the power of music. He's the first ever unanimous winner of the Leopold, is it Stokowski conducting competition?
Exactly. Exactly.
And you're the composer of Eulogy for a Dream. Please welcome to the show conductor, composer, and leader of the Durham Symphonic Orchestra, Maestro William Henry Curry. William, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So your career has been exemplary, and it's even more remarkable because of the road you've traveled to get here. You're an accomplished and loved maestro at the Durham Symphony Orchestra, appreciated for your work in its own right. But it goes much deeper than that. You came from a black lower middle class family in Pittsburgh, and now you're one of the most, well, you're one of the only active black maestros in the South, right? So
I am the only music director or principal conductor of a symphony orchestra in the history of the South.
So let's talk about that journey. I mean, what was your family life like growing up?
Well, in fact, a lot of people are doing some research in my family right now. I'm putting together my memoirs. I'm thinking of calling it Score Settling Time, in order to tell the truth about certain things I've had to suppress in this bizarre life of being a black person, a black conductor, when there were no black conductors in America. Though few there were, had to make work in Europe. But my parents, like you say, they were lower middle class. There was no music in my home. We couldn't afford a TV until I was 5 or 6. There was no phonograph player. The musical talent, if there be any, skipped a generation. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was an opera singer in a black opera company. Now, we've heard about black baseball teams, but less well-researched are black opera companies, and there certainly was one in Pittsburgh. So all of this musical talent that was suppressed, me and my brother, we figure out we have played in every major concert hall in the world between us. He's the cellist. He's been in the Cleveland Orchestra for 41 years.
So how did your grandfather come to love opera music? Was it from his parents, or did it kind of skip a generation like you thought before?
It's a mystery as to how he discovered his voice, operatic music. But mind you, every home in America after 1820, that is from lower middle class on up, had a piano in the home. We can't even imagine a day before TV. We can't imagine a day before radio. Radio was invented in 1920, or became more national in 1920. That's already 7 years before my father was born. But everyone had a piano, and the baby sister played it, and there were always books of simplified classical selections. So everyone heard classical music. And so I think that he heard something that he liked. And of course, these ancient records, I mean, probably before 78 RPM, he heard them. So I'd like to know the answer to that question. But he fell in love with it and was an opera singer. I don't even have a picture of him.
Now, not only that, though, but your grandmother received a scholarship as an organ major for the New England Conservatory in 1915. So I'm thinking, even in those post-Civil War years, that just seems like utterly remarkable to me. I mean, how was this family history taught to you growing up?
Well, the New England Conservatory was the only music school in America that accepted black people. And right now, a very, very well-known African-American female composer is Florence Price. She died in 54, I think. But she went to the New England Conservatory, but her mother told her, since she had very light skin, you have to try to pass as Native American or Italian. So I assume by 1915, there wasn't any problem with accepting other blacks.
So was it that early introduction to classical music and opera through family that kind of started your journey into conducting? I mean, is that how your love for music emerged?
I always wanted to play the piano. Whenever we would go to a neighbor's house, my parents' friends, I would get to the piano. They couldn't get me away from the piano. I'm sure I just was like, chaotic banging. But my parents could not afford a piano. for piano lessons. I'm sure it broke their hearts. There was only money for essentials. So finally, in this all-black elementary school, a Jewish gentleman, Eugene Reichenfeld, noticed that this school was underserved over in this area. And so he donated his instruments, his own string instruments, and his lessons for free to me and some other children there, including my brother. So he noticed I absorbed, I inhaled music. I think of my 7th grade where I discovered Broadway and opera and symphony, pardon me. And it was, I accepted all the, if it was wonderful, jazz, Motown. So he saw I was inhaling music. So he would loan me conductor scores, the things the conductor reads, and opera recordings, Puccini Tosca. And one day after a viola lesson, I was mainly a violist, he said, I think you'd make a good conductor. I was stunned because I was the most shy, introverted kid in the history of conducting. But he sensed something in me. I said, but I don't know how to conduct. He said, that's okay. I'll put you in front of my orchestra next Thursday, and you'll teach yourself.
Throw you in the deep water.
You have to have what Nietzsche said, title of one of his books, The Will to Power. I mean, look, this is one of the most crazy professions in the history of the world. This is what I don't talk, really. This is what I do for a living. And so you're controlling 100 people in the orchestra, maybe 300 people in the chorus. So you've got to like doing that. But you can't be, let's see if I can find a nice word for it. You cannot be a pain in the neck.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be an ego thing. It just can't be a bully pulpit. You have to be so infused with the spirit, the love of music, that all your ego is transcended and we all get on board because we all love music and let's work together.
So, Bill, we need to go to commercial real quick, pay some bills. Can you stick around till after the break?
Certainly.